Good morning, everybody. So if you don't know my channel, my name is Charlotte Allen. I'm the Felting Alchemist. And this morning, I'm going to be showing you how to make one of my needle felted balloons that I use in my children's mobiles. So first of all, I'll address the elephant in the room. I do normally show my face at the beginning of these tutorials. However, it's 5:30 a.m. at the moment, and nobody needs to see that. Nobody needs to be inflicted with my face at 5:30 a.m., which is why we're focusing on the wool today, the wool and the polystyrene ball in the center of my mat. So the things you're going to need to be able to make this needle felted balloon are polystyrene balls. So this is an 8cm polystyrene ball, but I also use a 10cm polystyrene ball as well. So it really depends on how large you want your balloon to be. I have my embroidery scissors. You're also going to need a polymide or polymide thread. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but effectively it's fishing line. And this fishing line here can hold up to 9 kilograms. Don't worry, our mobile is not going to weigh 9 kilograms, but you'll need some of this stuff. You're going to need a wool bats in the colour of your choice. You're going to need some core wool bats. You're going to need either some medium twisted needles or some medium twisted cross star needles. And I would definitely recommend using a needle felting pen for this, because that way you're going to speed the process up. And then finally, you want to use some strings. I think this string is about 4 mils. The much finer string that I sometimes use is 2 mils, so I think this is about 4 mils, so quite strong and robust. And you want to use it in a colour that you can see. Don't just use it in white, because white tends to blend in with the background. So go with a colour that you can see nicely, but also works nicely with the balloon colour and the creature that you've made, or whatever you've made to hold your balloon. So the first thing you want to do to create your polystyrene ball is you want to cut yourself a piece of string here. And I've gone for quite a long piece. It's probably about 30 inches, something like that. But go with whatever length you prefer. So you could go shorter, you could go longer, go with whatever you think will work best for your sculpture. But I'm going quite long here because this is going to be for the fox we made the other day. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this over the top of my polystyrene ball. So the string is lying horizontally in front of me, and I've got about 2.5 inches that are just sort of hanging free here, and then I've got the rest of the length of the wool just hanging out here on the other side. Next, I'm going to take a length of core wool. You don't have to be particularly precise with this. We just want something that we're going to tack the string down with. So I've got this piece here. It's not particularly long. It's probably about 9 inches in length. I'm just going to hold it down over the middle of my string. I'm going to take my medium needles and I'm going to felt that down. I'm just going to fold this over. So I've got about 1 inch in length of wool. And then once it's all felted down into position, I'm then going to take my string, I'm going to fold it down the middle of where we've just felted. So holding it down here, I'm going to turn it to face me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch these additional pieces of wool that are hanging down the sides with my needles, and I'm going to bring them round and felt them down so they're enveloping the long piece of string here, okay? This is going to form the base of our balloon. And you could use 3 needles in your needle felting pen. You don't have to use 2. What I tend to find is when you use 3 needles, it just becomes a lot more difficult to penetrate the wool and the polystyrene ball. You've got a lot more resistance there. So I tend to use 2 because I find it's that good balance of speed with ease. But try 3 if you want to sort of try and speed things up a bit more and see how you get on. And you might find that 3 needles actually work better for you than 2. And you'll be even speedier. You'll be able to knock these out even more quickly. So I'm just going to felt this round, so it's all locked down. You want to try and keep this as symmetrical as possible. At this stage, it doesn't matter too much if it isn't, but you want to try and keep this in the middle if you can. So we have our initial base locking down the string. What we want to do now is we want to concentrate on shaping this and then adding more wool to get more of a cone-like shape, so you've got that base of the balloon that we all recognise. So what I want to do first is felt this down a bit more and get the wool nice and flush with the polystyrene ball, so that when we finish it later, it looks completely smooth and there's no edges or anything like that that you can see where we've joined things together. So I'm going to go back to my needles. I'm just going to concentrate on felting down those sides and tapering them down into the polystyrene ball. and also felting down the top end a bit more as well. Now you don't have to use a polystyrene ball to do this if you don't want to. You could use dryer balls, or you could use wool and just make the whole thing entirely out of wool. The only difficulty I would say with using wool in its entirety is that when you come to add your polyamide thread and your character at the end, as the weight of the sculpture pulls down on the middle of the ball, what you might find is you get something a bit more concaved up here, where it's pulling down and pulling the wool into itself. So you may just need to be mindful of that. Make sure you get a nice solid ball, and then maybe add a little bit of extra wool on top just to cover any kind of indentations that are caused by the weight of the sculpture. But you could use the washing machine technique to create the base of the ball initially, and that will give you a nice solid structure to then form the rest of the balloon on. The only other downside of using wool in its entirety is that it's more expensive as well, and this is obviously a cheaper option, but it's really up to you what you do, because I know these aren't biodegradable, and some people prefer to use things that are biodegradable. Anyway, so we've got this all felted down now into a relatively smooth shape, and it's starting to form that cone-like shape that we're looking for. So I'm just going to snip away that end here, get rid of that, and then I'm going to go back to my wall, back to my core wall. Again, I'm going to take another length, which is probably about 2 inches in width, and I'm just going to focus this again around the circumference of where we've just added the wall a moment ago. So I'm just going to tack it down, and then with my needles again, I'm just going to bring it round. You'll get some kind of like ruching and things like that. Don't worry about that, we can just felt that out, it's not a problem. And then once you've gone sort of almost all the way around and you reach the second piece, just bring the second piece round. So we want to try and create an even thickness. And it can be a bit messy, this, don't worry. It's all about getting that height there and that bulk there, because we can do more shaping as we go along. Bringing it round. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but one of my friends that's taken up needle felting, she hates these balls, not just because they're not biodegradable, but because she just can't stand the sound of the needles penetrating the polystyrene. It's like nails down a blackboard to her. She really makes her kind of cringe. So she avoids it, and she does make her balls completely out of wool. Or does she use dry balls? I can't remember now, but she doesn't use these anyway. She uses something else. So you can use other things. So I'm just going to take this end around here and just felt this down as well. And I'll be back in a second once this is all felted into place. Okay, so I've felted down that second layer of wool, and we're really building up the cone shape now at the base of the balloon. So the last piece I want to add of the core wool is just around the very top, just to really seal in that cone shape. So I'm going to go back to my core wool. So I've got my piece of core wool here. We don't need quite as much this time, so I've got a long length, but I'm not probably going to use all of it. I'm going to take the end, and I'm just going to focus right at the very top of where we've got our string. I'm just going to envelop that around the string. Again, making sure I'm blending those sides down so that we don't end up with any ugly lumps and bumps. I'm just bringing it round. I'm just going to tear off that excess. So you want to really make sure you kind of felt down the side parts first, and then focus on felting the bulk at the top. Okay, and then I'm just going to go in with the same piece of wool and just add in one last piece. Just around that same area again. So what I like to do is just go around the balloon, and with my finger I just like to give it a push into the position I want it to sit in, and then just felt that down lightly. So I'm starting to shape it now. So I'm kind of moving it round. I'm looking at where I want to maybe kind of get it tapered in a bit more. So a bit more here. So I'm going to give it a squeeze with my fingers, And then I'm just going to use my needles to felt around that area and lock it into place. There we go, so we've made the first section of our balloon. Now the next thing we want to do is add our colour. I'm going to go to the blue wool bats that I've chosen, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a large section like this, so it's big enough to kind of fold over our balloon shape, not completely, but the majority. I'm going to hold it over the top of my balloon. I'm going to take my needles and I'm just going to felt it down. Super easy. So if you can get a nice large section, that's ideal. I just felt around the top end first. This can be quite time consuming because you really want to make sure that it's really integrated onto that polystyrene ball. You don't want it to come away easily. So it can take you a little while to felt everything down and ensure that everything's felted nice and securely, but it really is worth it to get a good finish at the end. So as I'm felting down the sides, I'm just kind of tapering this down and using my needles to get rid of any of those creases, like so. It's a bit like when you're icing a cake or something like that, and you're kind of getting rid of the icing creases. It's the same concept, but with wool. So it might be that you just need to tear away some excess eventually when you get everything kind of ruched together, but don't worry too much. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to have any additional bulk on the areas of the balloon that we haven't already added wool to, because we want to keep these nice and clear so you've got a nice smooth spherical shape when it's all finished. Just going to tear away some of this. There we go, just make my life easier. And I will be back with you in a second once this is all felted down. Right, so once you've got your first piece of wool bats added and you've got that colour added onto your balloon, you can see you've already covered quite a large surface area, so you've really cut down the time for yourself in terms of kind of covering the ball really quickly. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of the core wool, so this piece that I've just torn off, and I'm going to create a little hole in the middle. I'm going to feed my string through that hole, like so. There we are. And then I'm just going to felt this down around the string. So we're creating, again, a little bit more bulk around that cone shape we've created. We're giving a bit more coverage as well to any sort of like bits that we've added where we've got that kind of seam showing. And we're also just kind of, again, making life a lot easier for ourselves by doing it this way and getting a nice smooth finish rather than wrapping it around and then trying to kind of felt down any ruching and things like that. So it's much easier to do it like this. So I'm just going to felt this down and I'll be back when I've felted it all into place. Okay, so I've added the colour to the ball, so I've completely covered it now. I've also added some small sections of blue wool to the areas where there's sort of areas of white that I want to cover up as well. And I've also created a bit more shaping by squeezing the base in to a point with my fingers and then felting it into position. So the next thing to do is make this into a mobile. So I'm going to get my polyamide thread and I'm going to take quite a long length here. I'm probably going to take about a metre, because we're going to double this over. So once I've threaded my polyamide thread through my dole needle, I'm going to take my fox sculpture that we made the other day and I'm going to feed it through his belly and then I'm going to go up through his head, like so. You want it to be relatively central because that's going to have a massive impact on how he hangs. I'm going to pull it through all the way right to the end, and then I'm just going to tie a knot at the bottom of the thread, pull it through, and then I'm just going to cut away the excess with my scissors. I'm now going to go back to my needle felted balloon and I'm going to now feed that same polyamide thread that's coming out of the top of our fox head up through the bottom of our balloon and up through the top. And this might push the wool up a bit, but don't worry, we can sort that out later. And then going to pull it taut and I'm going to have probably, I don't know, about 20, anywhere between 15 and 20 inches of polyamide thread going between my balloon and my fox head. And then I'm going to go back through the top of the balloon again, so we're creating a loop. and I'm going to push my needle back down through to the bottom of my balloon. Once I've got my polymide thread loop coming out the top of my balloon, and I've got again about 15 to 20 inches, I'm just again going to tie another knot in that loose end of the polymide thread. So again, I'm just going to loop this round, and it only needs to be a single knot. You could do a double one if you wanted to, just to be super cautious, but I just do a single because we've got so much wool and polystyrene it's never going to come through and go through the other end. I'm just going to snip away that excess, and then I'm just going to pull that taut. And there you have it, that is our needle felted mobile. So your mobile should look something like this. So he's hanging from the polymide thread, and I've just tied the cord around his arm and then folded his arm inwards, and then I've also trimmed the end of the thread as well, or the string, just to make it look a bit more natural so he hasn't got loads of string hanging down underneath him. So that is how I make my needle felted mobiles. I really hope you found that useful. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you could like my video, that would be great, because it just helps me to get my videos out to more people that are interested in needle felting and sort of spread the word really. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I will see you tomorrow with more needle felting hints and tips. Bye.